Hey everyone, it's Maribel Blue with a new Pathetically Unfiltered. If you are new here to this channel, please take a moment and consider subscribing. And if you are not new, welcome back. So today we're going to talk a little bit about Joe Rogan, somebody that I probably never really talked about on this series. But Joe Rogan, when he decided to leave his illustrious comedian career, I didn't even know he was a comedian, to be honest with you. And he became like the most expensive paid podcaster, he became a very big influence for all of the insanity that's being caused right now. And I don't think that people realize how much of an influence you can be for somebody else that you don't see. They hear your voice, they watch your videos, but you're not seeing the person who's watching you back. You will have your haters and you will have people who love you and treasure your words. And I don't think that Joe Rogan really thought in that capacity. Because what happens when people come to an enormity amount of money, they're not thinking about you. They're not thinking about your well being. They're thinking about what house they're going to get, what car they're going to get, if they have outstanding bills, pay those off, whatever the reasoning is in order for anybody to come into that type of money. They're not thinking about your well being. Your well being is actually your responsibility. It's kind of like goes along the lines of addiction with like TikTok. You know what I mean? There are people who are on that app all day long. And the reason why I know that, because I can get up multiple times a night and check, and long and behold, there are just people on live all night. And I'm like, does anybody get any sleep whatsoever? And when you think about it, there are people who are watching them. There are people who are addicted to this app. And it's the same way with being addicted to somebody like an influencer, Joe Rogan. Kyle from Secular Talk talked a little bit about what was going on with him. I'm going to play some of his clip. I'm going to come back and make comments behind because I do have a lot of things to say about that. And then we're going to wrap up this video.
So Joe Rogan has done at least a few episodes since the war in Iran has begun, and he has, largely kind of avoided the topic. Now, I submit to you in this moment, he could bring on somebody who, I don't know, is like an expert on this, who's been covering this from the very beginning. He could bring on somebody like Jeremy Scahill, like Ryan Grimm from Dropsite News. He could bring on somebody who, they're like obsessed with foreign policy and know all the ins and outs and can educate his audience. Instead, he brings on this like grifter asshole, Michael Schellenberger, who's done the same thing as so much, like the Dave Rubin thing, the Jimmy Dore thing, the whole like, oh, I'm a liberal, but the liberals have gone crazy, so now I'm going to be a conservative propagandist. We've seen this 1,000 times. That's what this guy does. Okay? He invites this guy on, and you're not going to be surprised to learn that Joe Rogan is quite somber, and Joe Rogan seems to know on some level that MAGA is crumbling around him, and he bet on the wrong horse. Okay? So let me show you a couple clips. First, let's start with this one where they get into the Iran war.
Rubio said something about how, we had to act because we knew that Israel was going to act anyway. And I think people interpreted it, and then Netanyahu was in the White House a lot. I think this president has shown, whether you like him or not, and there's certainly things that I'm unhappy about and have criticized. But I think Trump is in charge. Like, he's making these decisions. There's nobody behind him. There's nobody pulling for all of that, the Russians or whoever, or these now the Israelis. It's just he's clearly. I mean, Elon gave him $250 million, and he still he didn't give him even the electric car credit. Like Trump is in charge. I think that's one of the big lessons from this, and I think that means that there's not a lot of like second order thinking here. Like, oh, what's the move after that? He doesn't know. He's just acting. That's what's so wild about it, is that this older foreign policy establishment, which was like, let the experts decide what the right foreign policy, all these think tanks, and that's just gone now. It's just irrelevant in this presidency, and I don't think it'll come back. Like, if you get a Gavin Newsom or a President AOC,
President who?
I don't think. Yeah,
real?
For a minute before Munich, but I don't think it's going to come back. And I think that that's what the Prime Minister of Canada realized. I think that's what the Europeans are starting to realize, is that this is a completely different world that we live in than the one.
Did you hear that? President who? Like, is he stupid? There was somebody on TikTok not too long, and I'm talking about addiction with TikTok, right? That there's never going to be a woman president. You don't fucking know that. You're a loser at home with nobody and SPS. And you're talking about that there may never be a female president after all of this nonsense? Who knows who's going to be president in 2028? It could be a woman.
We lived in just a couple of years ago.
Which just doesn't make any sense to me unless we're acting on someone else's interests, like particularly Israel's interests. Just didn't make any sense to me.
I hope you're ready for that angry text message, Joe, or that angry phone call. It doesn't make any interest unless we're acting on Israel's behalf. Now, to be fair, that's definitely true. I think they're blackmailing him and they're holding it over his head. And they also paid him a shitload of money to do their bidding, right? But let's also not whitewash the fact that he's always been a warmonger. And this is the shit that drives me crazy, is that these people, it's like they all use that Men in Black flashy thingy, which totally wiped their brains clean of this shit. But, bro, he's always been a warmonger. This is the guy who increased drone strikes over 400% in his first term. He increased the Pentagon budget every single year in his first term. And this is when they can't account for 63% of their money and they failed 8 audits in a row. It's a massive fucking slush fund and a giveaway, and he's providing them all the money in the world. He kept us in Iraq. He kept us in Afghanistan. He bombed Syria twice. He bombed Somalia. He assassinated Qasem Soleimani, who was fighting ISIS. He ripped up the Iran agreement. He allowed a genocide in Yemen and armed Saudi Arabia as they did it. He pardoned Blackwater war criminals. The list goes on, right? So that's what frustrates me about this, is like, it is true. A lot of this does have to do with Israel. He's serving Israel, serving the Israel lobby. I think he's blackmailed by Jeffrey Epstein and Mossad. They're able to hold that over his head and say, do this regime change or else. They're also, it's like carrot or stick, or we can be your best friends and give you hundreds of millions of dollars, or, we could release this video of you fucking a 14-year-old. It's up to you, bro. I think all that's true. But also, I don't think they had to work that hard to get him to say yes, because this guy's a fucking idiot. He wants to be a historic president. He's talking about stealing Greenland and shit. Why would a guy who said 1,000 times, like, we're going to take Greenland, we're going to own Greenland, why would he, like, pump his brakes for Iran, right? Why would he do that? He wouldn't do that. And here's the thing that these guys can't get through their head. Joe, he lied to your face, skis. He lied to your face with the whole, like, we spent $8 trillion in the Middle East. Why, it was stupid. We shouldn't have done that. The Iraq war was a big fat mistake. Why are we in the Middle East? It makes no sense. Oh, Kamala will send you to Iran. I won't send you to Iran. Like, he lied to you. He lied to you. And this is why I go nuts, because, like, you guys are smart enough to know. You're smart enough to know that this con man is a fucking con man. Like, when he talked to you, he had already been lying relentlessly about winning the 2020 election. That was a total fucking lie.
I have to say this. I find it difficult. I have to disagree with Kyle in this note. I don't believe that Joe Rogan is that smart to know that he was being conned. I don't think he knew he was being conned by Donald Trump. I think that these men are in such awe of someone who doesn't give a fuck about them. It's kind of like that insane relationship. You just stay in it because you had one moment of sanity in the 20 years of insanity. Oh, look, and you take that one little insignificant moment and expound it into something big, and thinking that makes all of the 20 years worth it. And it just goes right back to the insanity. So, no, I don't believe that Joe Rogan is that smart enough to understand that he was being conned.
Already told, like, what was it, 32,000, 36,000 lies in his first term alone? Some of the most preposterous lies we've ever seen. So, like, why do you think all this, when he sits in front of you, all of a sudden, the well-known fraud con man is going to start telling the truth? Like, no. Like, you got played for a sucker. And what you should do, if you had any integrity, is come out and admit that. You should say, yeah, I got played. And I'm an idiot. I fell for it. And that's on me. You could say that. Come say that. No, instead, you'll see. You'll see how this goes.
Like, if they had supposedly dismantled their chances of making a nuclear bomb, whether or not that's true, or, I mean, it's so hard to know.
It's not hard to know. Iran literally agreed to the strictest requirements. 0 enriched stockpile of uranium, and they got attacked anyway. This had nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with that. Trump and Netanyahu, they were going to do this no matter what.
Satisfied, and just like he was like, I'm not getting anywhere in these negotiations, and I'm going to replace the person I'm negotiating with. It's just, turn over the table, like, change things up. You're not getting anywhere. And you could say he was too impatient. Their view was the Democrats were too patient with Iran. They kept trying with Iran.
What? It worked. The JCPOA worked. That's not an opinion. That's a fact. That's the IAEA. That's the UN. They said that. That's been proven. Trump went in there, violated the deal, then pulled out of the agreement and ripped it up. And that was the problem. And shame on Biden, too, because he said he would get back in the deal, and he didn't. It would have been solved if they did that, but he didn't do that. Obama solved it, and then Trump fucked it up. That's the bottom line.
They weren't giving them what they wanted. I'm not defending it. I'm just saying I think that's what explains it. They haven't done a very good job explaining it because I think that it just sounds to some extent like what it is, which is that they're acting without. They're sort of like, well, does it result in regime change in Iran? We don't know. They might say that we want that or whatever, but that's not ultimately. They're not acting on the basis of achieving regime change.
Well, it just seems so insane based on what he ran on. I mean, this is why a lot of people feel betrayed, right? He ran on no more wars and these stupid, senseless wars, and then we have one that we can't even really clearly define why we did it.
By the way, notice how soft this is. The tone is very like, oh, it's kind of crazy. It's kind of insane. Like, and you'll see it in a second. But we're going to compare this to the same episode, how he talks about Democrats. Because it is fucking night and day. And that's why he's gonzo mentally. He's gone. Because even when he says something that is more reasonable, it's like, I'm going to whisper this so Trump doesn't hear it. And I come across as being like reasonable and nuanced about it. What's happening here, by the way, and I think this is undeniable at this.
Wait, before he finishes this point, before I go ahead and play it, does anybody remember when Jada Pinkett Smith was also doing the same thing? And by then, everything that happened at the Academy Awards with Chris Rock getting slapped on stage by Will Smith, and nobody really had respect for Jada Pinkett Smith after that. And she was doing the same exact thing. She was doing that, well, what do you think how our relationship is?
He sees what Tim Dillon is saying. Tim Dillon is going hard in the paint now against the Trump regime. He sees Andrew Schultz has now jumped ship completely, and they're way more aggressively going after Trump than Joe Rogan is, right? So he saw those two, probably also saw Sagar and Jetty basically apologize last week, right? And so all these people who he likes, who he respects, he sees them running away at 1,000 miles an hour, and he's like, at the very least, I have to whisper that this is kind of crazy into the microphone. It's still so embarrassing, though, because he texts with Donald Trump. He does phone calls with Donald Trump. He's in the club. Dana White, who's the biggest Trump dick sucker on the planet, is buddy-buddy with Joe Rogan. I'm sure he talks to J.D. Vance on a regular basis. We know he sucks off. I'm surprised he doesn't send dick pics to Elon Musk at this point, right? The way he talks about Elon Musk like he's some sort of fucking genius. Meanwhile, that idiot's running around cutting pediatric cancer research and Meals on Wheels and stealing Social Security numbers and crashing fucking rockets. Jesus Christ, man.
Well, but he said he's against endless wars.
Oh, there we go. Oh, yeah, he's against endless wars. Not like, ones that last like maybe a couple months. That's not endless, right? Right? Oh, my God.
Yes, endless wars.
Listen, man, they're all endless. Did
Well, if
you
we
ever
put-
hear Rumsfeld talk about Iraq when it first happened?
Tell me.
They were talking about like 6 weeks. 6 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
6 weeks.
All right, then we also have this one. So here he is, and here he floats the idea of like, potentially, maybe this looks like it could be World War III breaking out. Oh, you don't say, Joe.
The whole situation internationally has been so tense already with what's going on in Gaza, with what's going on in Ukraine. It's like, and to add this to the pile, it's like, I mean, it genuinely feels like there's a real possibility that we might be entering World War III.
What would that look like?
Come on. Aren't you supposed to be a political commentator, bro? And you don't see the outline of this shit? It doesn't even require any studying. It's just literally right out there in front of you. So Iran is allied with Russia and allied with China, and they are backing Iran. So you got those three would be the opponents. And then you'd have the U.S. and Israel as the main fighters on this side of it. And it would be like loosely, you can throw like sort of Europe in there, even though they're tepid about this. The Gulf Arab states, even though they're tepid about this. But like, how do you not see that? It's all so fucking obvious. And again, this is who he brings on the show. You could have on somebody who knows what the fuck they're talking about this issue. But no, you bring on this jackass.
I don't know. I never expected Iran to start attacking. They launched bombs into UAE,
What he was going to say, I never expected Trump to start attacking, but he bags, Iran to start attacking.
Dubai. I mean, where?
Of course Iran was going to attack them. That's where the U.S. military bases are. That's like step one if they get illegally attacked by Trump and Netanyahu, and that's what they did. It's on your boy, Joe. It's on your boy is a fucking pedophile, rapist, war criminal idiot. Wake up. Wake up. Will you ever just fucking totally cut this douchebag off? Now, like I said, I see a lot of people out there giving Rogan a lot of credit now because, he, in a very soft voice, he tepidly disagreed with Trump without really calling out Trump directly. Like, oh, what a big boy you are, Joe. What a big boy. You want a lollipop? All right, well, anyway, Here's the same fucking episode. Listen to how he talks about Democrats.
The thing that drives me the most nuts is when these progressive talking heads saying they don't want to pay their fair share. With the amount of waste and fraud, why would you? You don't think there should be some accountability to how much fucking waste and fraud that has been clearly demonstrated? Like the solution is just give more money. Oh, and they can do it because they have it. So what? You just give more money, and now it's $30 billion goes to homeless with no accountability. Like, what are you saying? Like, where do you think this money's going to go? Where it's actually going to help people and affect things in a positive way? There's been no indication that that's the case. That the real problem is they just haven't had enough money from the billionaires. That's fucking ludicrous. That idea is ludicrous. It's such a lazy, intellectually lazy way of framing this whole discussion. That's saying, oh, they don't want to pay their fair share. Fuck you. That's not what's going on here. What's going on here, you have a completely incompetent government that's absolutely corrupt, and they want more money.
Oh, yeah.
Gas is like $8 a gallon almost now.
Oh.
That's bananas.
I wonder why gas is $8 a gallon. Oh, that's right. It's because of the guy that you fucking meat rode into the White House, bitch. Also, notice the fire and the passion and the anger protecting the billionaires. Why would you want to tax the billionaires more? That's such a lazy idea. A guy who almost is a billionaire, he's a multi-hundred millionaire, going, how dare you want to take more of my money? Oh, I don't know, maybe because we're in a fucking new Gilded Age? Maybe because income and wealth inequality has spiraled out of control to the point where it's literally worse than the last Gilded Age? Has that occurred to you?
Well, first off, I have to say that Joe Rogan is an asshole. In one breath, he's whispering about how he wasn't expecting all of this and why people feel betrayed, when this is something that was said over and over again to expect this. If anyone voted this man, I still don't believe he won, but again, that's my own personal opinion. Another video, another time. And then he wants to sit there and talk about, did we not find any waste, fraud, and abuse? Well, we found the people who were involved in Doge with Elon Musk and all of these little white boys that he put in there. They were the ones who were committing crimes, allegedly. Don't they have a whistleblower that was talking about how he was putting things on a thumb drive? Like, what the fuck? Stealing people's data. For what? For Peter Thiel? For JD Vance? Like, what are we doing here? And how is everybody okay with this? I'm not okay with it. I'm not okay with my personal information being out there for someone to create either fraudulent credit cards or fraudulent bank accounts, which is illegal. So when he says that it was clearly demonstrated, nothing was demonstrated. Nothing at all. There was nothing that showed proof that there was any kind of waste, fraud, and abuse. If anything, they wanted to get rid of DEIA and fire a shitload of people so that we could recoup some money that went in no one's pockets but their own. And then he's talking about, oh, well, why is it that the billionaires have to pay more? Do you know why billionaires don't live in other countries? Because other countries, they put their foot down when it comes to taxes. You don't pay your taxes, you're going to jail. It's that simple. They don't make excuses. They don't go anything by a roundabout way or feel sorry for you because you have money. If you have the money, pay the taxes that you're paying into the country. And you have somebody stupid like Joe Rogan talking about, aren't we doing enough? Clearly, what you're doing is you're making more of a mess. You're not being responsible to your listeners who are listening to you, who are holding on probably with bated breath. Oh, what is Joe Rogan going to say today that's going to save my life? Absolutely nothing. If anything, listening to this man, listening to any white man as far as I'm concerned, isn't helping anybody. And then when he talks about that this is a lazy way, like, what are you saying? Are you saying that there are people who are lazy, who don't want to work? There are people who cannot work. There are people who worked their whole entire lives who deserve to get their Social Security and live in retirement. There is such thing. And you have people calling them lazy when they've worked their whole entire lives. There are people in their 80s working because the social security is not enough for them. Look at the video that I just posted. This woman lost 28 pounds because she cannot afford food. This is where we're at right now. And if anyone is listening to that guy that I was talking about in my last video on this live and how he was voting for Trump because it's a good idea to bankrupt America, so you're okay with being a broke ass and probably homeless, living on the floor, on the street. No one should be okay with that. And when somebody like that says something, you cannot take them seriously. You cannot take people like this, like Joe Rogan, like that guy in the life, or like anyone who says it's okay for you to be in pain. It's okay for you to starve. It's okay for you not to have nothing in sacrifice of a fucking billionaire. I don't think so. Because guess what? You don't get to take it with you when you leave this earth. Sure, you can pass it along. Let me have a shitload of money like that. There won't be one starving person that I know of. Believe me when I tell you, if I came into billions of dollars, I would probably give it away. The fuck am I going to do with all that money? Sure, I could buy a giant house. I could buy multiple cars. But what the fuck am I going to do with all that? What would be the purpose? It's good to live comfortably, but it's also good to give if you have it, if you can do it. That's what makes me feel good. That's just me. But clearly people like Joe Rogan and other people who have an insane amount of money, they don't care about you. They never have, and they never will. And that's the bottom line. So with all that being said, this is Maribel Blue signing off. As always, you must be a subscriber in order for you to comment. And always remember, be good to yourself, be good to each other. Most importantly, take care of you. Bye, everybody.